guaranteeing themselves a spot at least in the lower bracket and still fighting for the upper bracket.
I love that you bring that up. I mean, the crazy thing about the SA is you see these players usually hop around in groups of 2 or 3, moving from roster to roster. But for 2 years, in a region that I'd say is typically seen as unstable, right? You almost feel like there's a rotation every half a year. To stick with it for 2 years plus and now find themselves here at TI, contesting with the best and actually taking games away from them, it's got to feel amazing.
To be fair, they did rotate 3 of their other players, so
yeah, but they kept
there
2,
is a little bit of instability.
You know?
Yeah. I understand that as well, for sure. I'm just thinking what Soniqs might look to pair together with this. Maybe something like a Mirana wouldn't be the worst. A good way to be able to deal with a Tombstone. It's not a strength hero, so a lot of the times people like to pick the Snapfire in combination, not only with the Clockwork, but against the Undying, just to quickly deal with that Tombstone. But if you've got a Primal Beast and a Mirana as a pairing, you do have a few easy setups for the Sacred Arrows, so I really wouldn't hate to see them go down that route.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I feel like we haven't seen much Mirana at all. I saw 1 or 2 teams experiment with it to counter out the Primal Beast, but that fails once he gets a BKB, which he does fast anyway. And it was kind of surprising to me because when you looked at the like pre-TI stats, at least from a high-level pub game perspective, Mirana was one of the most picked and successful heroes being picked.
Mostly as a core, though, right? Not as not as a support. And that's where I'm wanting to see it this time around, right? Where the fact that Primal Beast has the BKB, it's not as big of an issue because you could still look to go down other avenues where physical damage is the output that's needed to be able to deal with him. But anyway, it's not going to be relevant this game because Primal Beast is, I want the pairing with the Mirana, not against the Primal Beast. So I think it'd just be a pretty solid response. Anyone that's able to go for these rotations onto the SF as well, maybe just allow Quinn to perhaps have something that provides a little bit of stun. You know, they've already given him the respect ban with the Leshrac, but he's super capable on some of these other heroes that are able to provide that lockdown.
That's a respectful ban across the board. I mean, Leshrac quickly becoming the wacky disco pony of TI11, 4th most picked at the start of the day, and every time I see it, I'm just screaming about how broken the Bloodstone is.
Oh, yeah. It's such an early timing as well. You get a pre-BKB because it just provides enough healing that you don't care about it. And, well, really wanting to dodge out this Primal Beast lane as much as possible, stick at range on the Lina. I understand it. You just don't want to potentially lose a Shadow Fiend lane that hard. And you've also got a bit of a response to the Undying Tombstone as well, with all the attack speed that you've got coming out. I'm still a little worried about what they're going to do with this Primal Beast, though. It's going to be going into the Undying lane, and it's not going to have a good time.
No, maybe if they do just flex that Clockwork so they avoid the double strength issue. And it's quite interesting to see the Lina come out. Outside 1 or 2 games of it being banned, I've yet to see a Lina being played at here. Does this feel like something more specific to the NA region?
Not necessarily. I mean, Quinn is very heavily around, I need to win my lane and then we'll win the game off the back of that, right? And you've got 2 heroes as well that are wanting to go in first, and that's really where Lina's big weak point is. You don't want to get jumped on, so if you're the ones that are playing on the front foot, then it's going to give you a bit of an easier time, but you just see what they do in response to this on Hokori, right? Yeah, they've got the potential to put this puck into the off lane. It's a bit of an SA special, but I would say much more likely they're like, all right, well, you just want to try and outrange us. Puck doesn't really care. You're able to dodge out a lot of those spells and still just shove the lane back very, very easily in the laning stage.
Just a very comfortable pick for the side of Hokori as well. Analog, this is his most played hero in competitive. 17 games since July, 64% win rate. I actually think he got an additional win today with it. So definitely a comfort pick. And also one that Quinn's very familiar with because it's actually also his most played hero in competitive since July.
Yeah, good pairing together with the Tiny as well, right? You land the Dream Coil, toss back, instant snap, just gives you the additional stun and damage that you might need to be able to provide that burst, because that's the big thing that a puck is lacking, especially early into the game, is that way to convert onto the Dream Coil with damage. Venomancer, okay. Makes it a little bit harder for the Undying to come up and bully the Primal Beast in lane, so maybe this is going to be a 5 Clockwork, a 4 Primal Beast, and a 3 Venomancer, or yeah, you can just look to flip the script there and just put the Primal Beast 3 Veno 4 as T1 were doing during the last chance qualifiers on Zephyr.
Yeah, I mean, Leslau definitely has a lot of flexibility to him. I think he came into this event as the most diverse player at TI, more or less can flex to any hero you give him. You know, looking at this stage, we're starting to get a picture of the drafts, like what are we missing here, what boxes still need to be ticked. We're going to be looking towards Hokori first. You know, they've got decent initiation, decent jump. What else do you want to see to round out this draft?
Good question. So what do they need? They need their offlaner, right? Sustain is decent, pick-off is pretty good. I still think they might be lacking a tiny bit of that early game damage, or rather just someone that can just stick in the lane and start to put a bit of pressure onto towers, because Shadow Fiend still wants to sit back and be farming for at least a decent portion of the game until he gets into, let's say, 2 items. And for Soniqs, excuse me, they still need their position 1, and they need some more lockdown as well. Like, this puck might just end up having a field day. Of course, like you mentioned, Analog super comfortable on it, and there's no real reliable lockdown outside of the Clockwork hookshot, and you're going to need to really be on point with the follow-up coming through with the Light Strike Array if you're going to take him out.
You know, to that idea of push, some things that come to mind, Visage is still there, Beastmaster is still there. The one that wouldn't necessarily give push, but I could kind of see working for Hokori's playstyle is the Dawnbreaker.
Could work. Could work. I feel like you're one of those heroes that you don't want to be spaced out of the team fight, though, and I think that's what Clockwork and Venomancer do quite effectively. So I think they're going to be trying to keep her away as much as possible. I'm a little more hesitant about going for something like the Beastmaster. Yeah, Vision is great, especially if you're trying to take out this leaner at the start of these team fights, but I'm always hesitant about having dual melee lanes, just because I feel like you could be abused pretty effectively, especially by someone, even like a position 5 Clockwork, right? He's going to have a fantastic time. So someone like that Visage feels a little better, but again, it's probably going to be into the Primal Beast and the Venomancer, 2 heroes with a lot of damage over time that deal very well with the Gravekeeper's Cloak.
That's true. I mean, this was one of the more impressive Venomancer picks I've seen. It kind of limits you. And instead, Hokori, it looks like it's going to be...
okay,
yeah,
off lane.
So we are running off lane. We're not going to, like, flex the puck at all.
Nah, I wouldn't say so. I really don't think you want this Weaver going into the Lina. I think this is something that Vitaly does fairly comfortably for himself, and it also doubles down on that aspect that I thought was lacking on Soniqs draft, right? No reliable, well, minimal reliable lockdown for the puck, so why not just double down? Get the Weaver as well. So you're going to have to choose which one you're looking to initiate onto, and whichever one doesn't get hit is just going to be able to have a huge part in these team fights for Hokori.
And this definitely takes one
of as well for the Weaver.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to hit onto. Is this ticks the box I'm looking for. Whenever I see SF drafts, I'm like, how do we get an element of minus armor into this strategy? Like attack speed is one way with the Beastmasters, but definitely minus armor. I think Tidehunter has been a pretty popular pairing with the SF, but Weaver, you tick the box. It definitely fits a similar role. And Soniqs, their reaction, well, they're going to get a point stun. You like it, yeah?
I think it's okay. Now, do you look to change this lane up a little bit? It's like, what do you view as more important? Do you think that your Shadow Fiend is going to be able to get out of his lane in a good enough spot that you don't really care about the Sven and his turnaround potential? Because for me, the thing that you're most worried about is the Blink Dagger and the BKB on the Sven. Once you hit those timings plus another farming accelerant like the Echo Saber, you can fight. But if you just look to move the Undying to that lane, then maybe Lumiere doesn't get as good of a time in your lane, even though you're denying up what the Sven's able to do. So it's this real balancing act that you have to play as to what's more important in your eyes. And well, it is going to be that 3 Venomancer as well, trying to reduce the amount of farm that Lumiere has so that Yuar gets that extra 5 minutes or so that you need to be able to farm. So a much more passive game coming through from Soniqs, I would imagine. Of course, making rotations probably towards mid, securing the power runes for Quinn, and allowing him to get some of these pickoffs against Analog. That's going to be the game plan for Soniqs.
Yeah, I like that idea, the Veno. Like, the Veno is the most impressive pick to me. Most of the drafts I've looked, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm feeling this, but if you think about Hokori's playstyle and how aggressive they want to be, you hit it on the head. This is the type of hero that's going to slow down the game, and then it's a question mark of what Hokori do next, because so far they've looked most comfortable when they're able to turn the screws on their opponents.
For sure, and even the Veno going against, let's say, 2 pretty beefy heroes, even the Puck. If you land that poison over onto them, then suddenly you can't use Blink Dagger anymore. You've got that percent damage against these high max HP heroes as well, which makes life a little bit more challenging. I honestly don't know where to put my chips. I'm slightly favoring Hokori, because I feel like if they make some of these rotations and they secure the mid lane for the Puck, make sure to deny some of those power runes away from Quinn, you're just not going to be able to have that early impact that you need to try and open up the map a little bit more to enable Yuar to get that farm that he needs to have his own Blink Dagger, to have his own Echo Saber, his own BKB, so that he's ready to fight.
Oh, let's see who's going to be ready to fight. Let's hop into game 1 between Hokori and Soniqs. And I feel where you're coming from. I think another thing that makes me lean Hokori slightly is their draft looks more familiar to what we've seen working so far. You know, Soniqs with the Lina and the Venomance, as well as the Sven round out, it's a little bit more out of left field.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the sprays in the mid lane being placed down there by Leslau, of course. Coming from the SA scene years and years ago, and of course he's got a bunch of friends there. Lots of tips coming through in the early stages of this game.
It should be a fun one. Just a nice little American derby. And you mentioned in the draft the idea that, you know, a lot of these NA teams don't see it worthwhile scrimming with these SA teams, but maybe that's going to come back to bite you, because I wonder if Soniqs are going to be ready for the level of aggression that we've seen SA play with today.
Oh, I'm sure they will be. You know, NA has a good amount of aggression itself, so I think that's not going to be too big of an issue for them there. And of course, you just come up against such a wide variety of strategies all throughout TI group stage. We're almost towards the end of day 3. Let's see if Soniqs are able to close it out with a win, or if Hokori can keep their winning strategy going. Well, that helps. Vitaly able to snipe away the bounty rune.
Yeah, and also Hokori, he went in very deep, pushed the Veno back and away, so was able to skew a rune up there. So 3 runes going the way of Hokori. Nice start for the SA.
And they're switching up their lanes a little bit as well. So, you know, I mentioned during the draft that you have to kind of pick your poison, right? Do you want to shut down this Primal Beast, or do you want to make sure that the Sven doesn't have as good as a game? With the Venomancer being played as the position 3, the core, and the Primal Beast relegated to pos 4, you're not as worried about shutting him down in the laning stage. Undying's great at doing it if he's a core, but they're putting a lot more priority onto making sure that this double strength lane, but more importantly, Yuar doesn't have a good time.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's also
have a ranged hero as well against this double melee.
It's true. And, you know, if you're having a stun on the Undying, if you have to chase him, it doesn't feel good. It feels like usually the lane that gets ahead is the one that can prioritize the other core.
I could die here on fire.
Yeah, one more tap is all needed, and
right click. He's kind of slow. Those Shadow Razors.
Well, that escalated quickly. You know, I was about to make this interesting talk, Danog, about how a lot of the supports have been focusing on their opponent's cores because you can't offer up regen much anymore due to the nerfs to salves a while back, but scrap that. Kill the clockwork, I guess.
Yeah, and that's one of the big benefits of the Undying as well, right? You don't need to use as much of your gold on tangos. You can just go heavily into the mango route, because as long as you're landing these double decays, you just get the free HP back once it expires, and you get free HP essentially. It was such a big change to really bring it into the meta during this TI.
Yeah, a Vile hero to experience is a good reason why it's one of the most contested heroes of TI so far. I think it's 3rd in terms of most picked at the start of the day.
I've got one eye on how this mid lane's going, right? Quinn.
Yeah.
So important for him to secure that initial start, and, well, he's done a pretty good job so far against Analog. Lots of denies coming through. 4 denies, 12 and 5 actually against the 3 and 0 from Analog, and it means that he's going to get this super late bottle as well. Won't be able to still get the refill, but it's been going to be at the cost of losing so many creeps.
It's a huge lead already. I mean, 4 CS to 14 as well as 6 denies. Quinn is on fire literally and figuratively in this game.
Having a very solid start. You want him to get into the groove, you know? That's when Quinn is playing at his best, when he's feeling himself, when he's showing why he's #1 for the Americas region.
Does it feel like this matchup should go this way, or do you think a big part of this is on the recent change to Illusory Orb with the really big increased mana cost?
No, I don't think so. I think Quinn, obviously Alina has a good time against like 99% of mid heroes, but I think maybe he's just able to get a few of those key last hits. It means that Analog doesn't get the bottle quite so early. You just can't go back into the lane because Quinn's going to harass you every single time.
No, yeah, the plus side is, at least if you get some XP, there's a type of hero that can do some rotations. Does it feel like an easy game to rotate to the outer lanes in? I'll pause that for MSS. A little bit ambitious with the onslaught, will be brought down by the combo from Hokori.
You talking about the puck making the rotations?
Yeah.
I would say top much more as a priority, just because, yeah, it's important to make sure that Lumiere's having a good time on his Shadow Fiend, but I feel like he is right now. He's got a little bit of that net worth lead. He's got the Undying, giving him a hand. But if you rotate up top, you're going to have that toss back once you've got the Dream Coil available, and that should set you up for a pretty easy kill.
And there's always the choice that Theo starts to rotate early on as well, right? Because one of the beautiful things about picking Weaver, especially against a hero like the Venomancer, is he does become independent very quickly.
Top side, MSS, even just using his body to create a little bit more space there. I think this will be enough, and well, Analog, he's actually going to make a beeline towards the water rune down bottom, so it's going to be 2 claim for Hokori here, and for a team like Soniqs that emphasize, never mind actually.
Scrap that.
Nicely done by Fada. I mean, this is a team that emphasizes this so much, right? You've got to give Quinn a good start to the game, not just for the net worth aspect, but for the mental aspect, right? Again, he is a player that plays on feeling a lot of the time, and if he's feeling good, so are Soniqs.
Yeah, it's definitely the type of hero that can set the pace. Lina, just the spike damage she's going to have in that mid game, so good start for her. Plenty of heroes that could die. You know, if you look at the lineup of Hokori, you just realize quickly that all 3 of these cores, while 2 of them are very elusive, they're not very tanky. So if they do get caught out, almost always going to die to this Lina.
That's one area where Soniqs might have a little bit of the edge, right? Lina, one of the big weaknesses is if you can get in on top of her, if she doesn't have the BKB, then pretty vulnerable at getting burst down. But you're playing with a Primal Beast, again, a Clockwork that's wanting to put themselves up forward, a Venomancer that makes it very hard pre-BKB to move in. And then even on top of that, the Warcry on Yawar is going to provide just that little bit of extra tankiness to allow Quinn, even though a Sven is super capable of being that late game carry, doesn't necessarily need to be. Lina is very capable of fulfilling that role as well.
It's quite interesting to see the different approach that Soniqs have to the drafts. A lot of the time we're seeing these kind of glass cannon type mids that can be high impact but need to be protected. And it's funny when you look at Soniqs and you realize that they don't have many clear reset tools that can save the day. You know, outside of a hook shot in to maybe give you a little bit of space, you haven't got, you know, your Oracle type heroes, your Omni Knights, or a Tiny, anything that has some sort of pseudo save for this glass cannon.
Yeah, even the Chen, just with, you know, the Hand of God and the mechanism that he likes to naturally go, is going to be pretty effective at that. Again, Quinn is just having a fantastic time in this mid lane, protecting the bottom rune, but unfortunately it's top, so Analog is going to be able to pick that one up.
Get a kill though. Gardic, he came to the bot side. Fada was once again waiting, and looks like Gardic's going to try to walk this one off. Quinn, of course, without boots, means that Gardic will survive and even yoink the bounty rune.
War's gone for the chase as well. They're even using the courier potentially to try and scout him out. Looks like they might be able to claim it here. It's a double strength decay off, and actually he doesn't even get the kill. It's the tower that does it, so the gold is split through. I'm sure they would have loved to give that one over to Yawar, but not going to be the case.
That's a really nice little play coming out of Gardic as well. Typically when you step in that tree line, you know they're going to be trying for a TP, but he just doubles back and heads straight into the tower. So a lot of time wasted, nicely done by him. And, you know, now that we've looked at Yawar, we can look at how this bot lane is going. Lumiere is dominating it, 41 and 20.
I mean, that's the thing, right? If you've got a ranged into a melee, especially one that's set up by this Undying for success, like the Shadow Fiends is, you just can't come back into the lane on the Sven. That's why Yawar made that big rotation, just to try and claim that kill onto an Undying because of how poorly the lane had gone so far. The one saving grace for Soniqs right now is this mid lane with Quinn. As Lau, he's doing a decent enough job on the top side, and he's going to try and start to put some pressure in onto this tower sooner rather than later, but he's going to need to wait until those Plague Wards have started to level up a bit.
Mr. Fat A, what are you doing here? Oh god, that's too many zombies. Fada. What a move out of Gardic. Just frustrating the Sven and then also enabling a kill. That also might lead him to push. Lumiere hits pretty hard, and this is a free lane to push.
Quinn hits harder.
Pop. Whoa! And Quinn, he lives 25 HP. The tower can't even get him.
Yeah, just those little things, right? He tried switching the aggro to the tower, didn't quite land it, but the bottle into the TP with the infused raindrops enables him to get back to safety.
We're not done yet. Yeah, we're hunting Vitaly. He sees us a bit too ambitious. Leslau had a fat one there, 18 charges, so Vitaly never able to really get that kill.
Wonder if they're going to try and bait him to go for another one of these moves. It's nighttime, so Fada hasn't revealed that he's up here, so I think with Leslau playing so close to death, might be able to force him to come in, but I think Leslau's saying, I just want my experience. I want to build up more. I want to have this damage output against this aggressive lineup. Just a question of, does he go into the Poison Nova? Does he start leveling up the Plague Wards for a little bit more of that tower-taking potential?
Yeah, it feels appropriate for a Venom to be this low. You know, usually you feel like you want to die when you're playing this hero. You can see the one, he's like, oh, I don't care. Bot lane in the meantime, MSS will discover a giant rock stopping him from leaving. He's going to toss him back towards Gardic, and there's going to be a charge
Nice
free straight
movement.
on top. The Shadow Fiend trample as well with the follow-up stun. Lumiere in trouble. LSA does about clip, but in the end, it's just going to be SF going down. Great rotation from Soniqs, just overwhelming the side of Hokori with raw numbers.
Man, just that movement speed coming through from Gardic as well, able to get away, and they've caught out Lina.
What?
Are they going to be able to get the toss back? Snap the coil? Oh, nice.
Just in time. And Quinn will now turn around, though. They'll find a kill onto the Tiny. An ambitious attempt by Hokori. Not enough respect being shown to just how big Quinn is right now.
Oh, yeah. He's having a really good time, and as soon as that Shadow Fiend's not up and available, you got to back off a little bit, because this was the issue I was talking about. They are kind of lacking in damage. The toss back does provide you that little bit, but with the infused raindrops, Quinn was just able to tank through a ton of that damage.
Lina definitely looking like the queen in this game. Heading to the boost of travel build, so omnipresent in this game. Makes a lot of sense, right? You just want to be the hero creating space so that Yawar can soak in the gold.
A lot of the time you do want to be creating the space, but just with the way that Soniqs have drafted this game, they want to make sure that they can effectively have two cores, like two solid cores that are going to be able to carry this game for you. And that's what the Venomancer enables, right? He started leveling up the Plague Wards, and he's going to block off these areas that Hokori are going to try and get a little bit more aggressive in being able to obtain those towers. So I think Soniqs are happy the later this game goes. Obviously, they want to keep the pressure up early so that the Shadow Fiend doesn't get out of control, but they're happy if this one starts to go late.
Yeah, things will get very spooky soon. Level 6 is almost online for the Primal Beast, and we know at that stage, almost any hero can die, especially with the combination of the damage coming out from Quinn at the stage. So, gotta keep an eye out for that rotation.
Wonder when MSS is going to prioritize the Aghanim Shard as well on the Primal Beast. We see when it's played as a support, this is much higher priority, obviously, because you're not getting into that earlier BKB. You don't quite have that same level of tankiness, both from levels and items, and so you might want to go for the initial dive, but then you want to skirt back and be playing a lot more on the outer regions of these team fights.
Yeah, I think the thing I love about the Ag Shard, that rock throw, the way I kind of describe it, it's the same kind of impact that Mirana Arrow has. Like, you're never sure just how deep it's going to go, so you have to sidestep it anyway. It's a really big distraction to your formations when you're trying to set up for a fight.
It's just a question of how much Ag's Labyrinth did the Hokori boys play, because the Pulverize and the Rock Throw, both aspects coming through from that. Even just the new Aghanim Scepter, right? With the break mechanics.
Yeah, once the Axe comes into play, you better finish your Ag's Labyrinth, or you are doomed from the get-go with this hero. Such a pesky one as well, just so much chaos.
Oh yeah, putting a lot more pressure onto the bottom side, playing around that siege creep, looking to open up the map by taking this tower, but it's not going to be for free. MSS pushed in the mid lane, making sure that the towers are taking away a wave for free, and Quinn's just going to be able to respond to this as well. So I would say that Soniqs are going to be happy with this trade if you're able to get this without it being contested and you don't lose a second tower.
Yeah, they got Serpent Wards down, so they'll know if Plague Wards rather, they'll know if someone tries to come in. Already in position on the mid lane, Hokori are going to start poking and prodding. It's going to force the TP reactions as Venomancer tries to set up. A lot more heroes for Hokori here. Two cores of Soniqs have yet to arrive in the mid lane, but the Venomancer alone is enough to spook Hokori away.
Yeah, they don't have the right-click damage.
Quinn, in his room. There's the Dream Core. It's going to snap straight away. Quinn is going to try to run for the high heels. Swarm will just about clip him. Now, it's a question of whether they have the maneuverability to stay on top of him here, because this is a very speedy Lina. Turns around with LSA. Charge through. MSS not able to connect. Lumiere, he even shot for this. I mean, this is so much space for the side of Soniqs. They're taking the mid tower.
Oh yeah, they're taking that. You just lose the one. You've already got the tier 1 tower. Not in a really dangerous position, but yeah, Lina just able to get back all the way to base. Was thinking that Quinn might have gone for that TP all the way down towards the bottom side just to continue accelerating that farm, because he's already picked up those boots of travel. But yeah, as soon as he gets into the BKB, I feel like that's where Soniqs might go for a few more of these aggressive movements. Already getting the drums built up by Fata. And, of course, the Primal Beast able to stick out on the map quite frequently with the Tranquil Boots, the infused raindrops. Never going to be too low in the mana pool there.
Yeah, and you have to kill him quickly, because, when he charged in like that, it looked like a mishap. Give him a few seconds, he'll onslaught his way back out of danger. Looks like they do just about scrape together the tier 1 tower, but nice hook shot in, the charge through control good, but no Analog, able to dodge out and move away. Requiem will zone the rest of Soniqs out of here. MSS is going to be dropped, both of Sonic's supports are gone. Just like that, Hokori will be able to hold that tier 1 tower.
That's exactly what I was talking about with the chain lockdown, right? It's a great initiation. They get the perfect hook shot into the pushback, but where's the damage after the fact? Where's the light strike array or even just the Laguna blade to be able to finish off the puck? It's not there. Good. I was about to say good heals coming through from Gardic because I thought that puck lived for a bit longer, but not a single point in the Soul Rip just yet.
From the same cloth.
Yeah, it's actually impressive how they're surviving the situations with this more aggressive build on Gardic. And it's kind of nice the way he's unable to do this when you consider that he's got 2 elusive cores that shouldn't really be dying, right? It's very rare that we should see the Weaver or the puck going down these early phases, as we just witnessed in that mid lane.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the positive is they still were able to remove the mid-tier 1 tower. Yes, it got denied, so obviously would have loved to get a little bit more of that gold injection coming through, but it's going to enable them to go for a lot more of these smokes. That's what Soniqs love to play around. They're going to do it in the mid lane.
Sure. Italy, they pushed it out to safety. Luckily, look at the pulverize straight away. Gardic, of course, no points to Soul Rip, so easy pick on the Weaver. And a nice little follow-up on the Undying. Even with a 4-man Decay Rava is not going to be good enough.
They were actually there with each other. I'm sure that was all of what the comms were talking about after that previous failed attempt to kill the puck. We got to make sure that we chain our spells together. I'm not sure why they were looking to rotate previously, but with that, Quinn starts farming on the enemy side of the map, and you know, even though Lumiere is still continuing to pick up a lot of that own net worth for himself, you can feel confident that, again, the dual core is going to eventually come online for Soniqs.
It's going to be a big pressure on Analog to get some sick dream cores here because, of course, one of the issues with this type of build for Lumiere is going to be getting into the fight until we're deep into the build and we're talking about Swift Blink territory.
Oh, that's going to be a fair bit later into the game, though.
Yeah.
We're still a mile away from that. And he's picked up the Echo Saber, so a little bit more teamfight impact, and perhaps even if they use the next God Strength and find a pick-off, they can look to convert that into Roshan. Of course, you can disassemble the Echo Saber if you want to get that BKB as your next available item, or are they going to want the extra burst from the Blink Dagger from Iwa after this one?
Whoops. Sentry down here in Sonic's own area, so they know where Vitaly is perfectly. So Ham's going to come out. Sparta. I want a way out of this. Reinforcements are arriving though. MSS not able to connect. Nice time lapse with the hook shot follow-up. Will allow him to get in range, but no, the cogs. Keep him away. Vitaly's just going to stand his ground and fight here with the Spirit Vessel. Unable to get the kill first though. Fada will die after the fact. And on the back, I want a way out of this. Reinforcements are arriving though. MSS not able to connect. Nice time lapse with the hook shot follow-up. Will allow him to get in range, but no, the cogs. Keep him away. Vitaly's just going to stand his ground and fight here with the Spirit Vessel. Unable to get the kill first, though. Fada will die after the fact. And on the backside, looks like Quinn has found a nice little bonus. Gardic gets picked off as well.
Things gone fairly well for Soniqs. I mean, they're finding, of course, core targets, especially elusive ones. But things are going to come a little bit more difficult because, again, your lineup can be squishy. You know, the Venomancer, the Lina, if you toss them out of position, they can still be vulnerable to fall down, or even just getting a BKB charge out of Quinn is going to be vital. And you're almost reaching that period for sure, but so is the Ola Core. Only 700 gold away from the Blink Dagger. Going to enable a few more of those pickoffs to start to come out, and I think it's going to be at that period that they're going to look to play with Lumiere a little bit more, start to use that big net worth that the Shadow Fiend's been able to pick up. He just wants his BKB himself.
And that's when it's a lot harder for Fada to do this bodyguarding job he's been doing so well. 4 deaths on the board, but important ones, the way he's kind of just soaking the initial initiation. Once that Blink Dagger's online for the Tiny, all of a sudden things like Yelena may be a little bit more exposed. Of course, the plus side is she does have that BKB complete, so you'd have to find some raw physical damage follow-up fast before she's able to get that magic meter online.
I still think you're typically okay with, you know, kill attempts that might not necessarily kill Quinn. Obviously, that's the ideal, but just forcing out that BKB makes Lina so much squishier.
And it sets up for a nice late game state where, you know, or quicker state where the BKB is short charge, which will enable the SF to come back in. And to that point, they have heroes that can force BKB charges and survive with that Weevil, with that buck.
Roche, perhaps. I mean, even prior to the pickoff, I think they're a little bit uneasy with how much time Theolico has been able to spend down on that bottom side, farming up a couple of creep waves for free. So they're going to move on forward, look to de-ward this high ground. Gardic, of course, the tankiest hero on the team.
Team's down the high ground.
Fully away Fada. How quickly is Roche falling? Pretty damn fast.
Yeah, but Yawar is incredibly low. If they spot this out perfectly, he might just fall. He has to TP away. The stun comes out to Quinn. He will be able to get it just in time. So Aegis claimed by Soniqs, but a lot tighter than you'd like if you're a fan of NA.
Oh, yeah. You can have SA fans for Soniqs as well. And they got the
That's
Leslau
true.
presence coming through.
It's for a little bit of representation from both. Of course, you know, a fan favorite from the SA region for a long time, but definitely been a favorite for this squad. Been with them for a very, very long time.
Now, through previous iterations as well, VCJ Storm and the like.
Quincy crew for a very long time. Glad to see they finally got picked up. Definitely a talented team that deserved to have an org to represent.
Not even just having a boot camp, you know, that's been the main issue. Placed all across the country. Very difficult to be able to find that cohesion without. We just saw what happened to Virtus Pro. They weren't able to boot camp before the last chance qualifiers, and maybe that was the difference between them being able to make it to TI and not.
It's crazy to think it can come down to that type of detail, but yeah. It gives you a sad feeling of, you know, having the money leads to the wins, but then again, just look at the underdogs that are starting to come through in these group stage stories. It's not always just having the biggest wallet that gets you the dub. Hard work.
This is the initial reveal of the Blink Dagger. Will it result in much, though?
Dream call might allow him to get a big one on the Venom answer here. Not enough mana. He finally gets it for the poison over to be popped. But Quinn can't follow this up on his own. Lumiere does arrive, and that's enough to spook the Lina away.
Oh, they were really considering going in there on MSS. Just pretty tanky right now with the Specialist's Array being picked up. But I think the main priority right now for Leslau is just to become as tanky as possible. All his job is right now is just... Oh.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Gardic was literally one tick from death there. That was...
The
it actually looked like he might go.
So it's fine.
No, oh no, he had the poison sting on him still. He was genuinely... Yeah, it was that close. He had to initially walk to the mid wave to soul rip to get enough to even think of surviving.
But yeah, the main priority for Veno is just live, essentially. Like, just don't die, forehead. But, you know, that's the reality of the situation. You got to make sure you're there to layer down the Plague Wards because, again, this is a Sven that's able to play around these ancient camps safely because you've been able to maintain your tier 1 mid and tier 1 top. That's what's going to accelerate Yua's farm. That's what's going to keep him up with the rest of the team. That's what's going to allow you to have that true dual-core lineup that you've drafted for.
They've done a good job of keeping those towers out. The tier 1 mid especially very important. Smoke now, because they know Hokori must want this objective with Lumiere being parked in the mid lane. Not an easy kill with the BKB online. Hookshot's going to be a whiff because he walks up to farm a creep. And now the turnaround! They found Lina. First life gone. Charge through from MSS to intercept. BKB activated. Lumiere is going to stand and fight. And Lina might be forced to as well. They've already lost the Primal Beast. Quinn could not match this. Lumiere strikes like a god on this Fiend.
Going to be able to defend this tier 1 tower, though I'm not sure they will without the hook shot available, without the Sven with that instant gap close. Yua might look to go for the backstab here or wait to see if they go just that little bit too deep. No detection, though, which is where Vitaly might be looking to play around. So one inopportune use of an ultimate leads to losing so much, and I mentioned how important it was to maintain that tower just so that you're protecting Yua's farm. Now he's going to have to feel a little bit more uneasy about being able to just stick up here inside of the ancient camp area. It's even been warded up, so Gardic, the ward's got about 20 seconds left on it to the left-hand side of the Radiant Ancient area. Another dodge out there, but it's a DD for Yua. Have to be pretty happy with that. Probably going to give it over to Quinn now just because of how far ahead he is in terms of that right-click damage. It really does feel like Yua wants to sit back a little bit further. Just continue to farm. Again, you're happy with this situation overall, but you need the Blink Dagger. You need to convert on a few more of these kill attempts.
Yeah, I think what happened there is Yua, he looked at the occurrences mid, and he's like, I'm happy for you to have these DDs. You go make things happen. I'm not ready for the Fiend yet. I mean, that was vicious. We've been talking about how dominant Lina's been, but just a casual answer in this right-click Shadow Fiend, something that is really snuck up on people in the build-up to TI.
Shadowblade's going to do Quinn a lot of good, though. Obviously, the attack speed, not the greatest for the Lina, but the damage, and more importantly, the mobility that it's going to be able to provide, right? Just letting you create that gap between yourself and the Shadow Fiend, or even just the puck, right? The Dream Coil piercing spell immunity isn't going to be an issue for another 10 levels on the puck, so that's going to be the main issue. Do you get jumped by Theolacore and get that burst damage through? That's basically the only way that Lina's going to die this stage. Theolacore getting that toss back into the Shadow Fiend, just right-clicking him down because he's got the Daedalus now on Lumiere as well.
Oof. I think it's also a pseudo-initiation tool for Quinn. Like, there is an argument that if you Shadowblade in LSA to start off with on the SF, the follow-up hook shot, with the type of right clicks you're dishing out, might be enough to kill Lumiere before he can react.
You got to be careful with that one, though. I mean, if you get caught out of position, if you're going for these deeper gank attempts, if they just turn around onto you again, get the toss back, you're probably going to be away from the rest of the team, and they don't have that saving support that we were mentioning during the draft.
No, it's a tough one. When you pick these last cannon types, when you have momentum, you feel great, but the moment you slip and break your neck. And smoke.
Play carefully here.
If he can get the ult off, there's a smoke coming from Soniqs, but it only connects onto one, and it looks like Soniqs are still moving in for a fight here. Yawara's in the jungle, Blink comes out onto Fatili, follow up, looks good. Soul Rip can't save him. A bonus kill maybe to be had, but MSS cannot even throw out the Pulverize. He's just gone.
It's just these team fights, neither of them going perfect for either team, to be honest, right? Like the Dream Coil was used onto the Venomancer, and so that's why Soniqs felt a little bit more confident in continuing to push on forward. You had that Blink Dagger reveal as well coming out from Yawar, but he pops the God Strength, and all they really get out of it is a single hero in the Tombstone. Not what you're wanting to be using that first reveal for. It needs to be much more of the surprise factor.
Yeah, it felt like the in for a penny, in for a pound type feeling, right? You spent so much time on that smoke. You were hoping for 2 to 3 heroes to poison over, but in the end, just getting one and it being Lumiere is not good enough. And, well, good enough for a tower push would be a kill on a clockwork like this. Lumiere will inflate his goal further. What's the intent, though? BKB forced. And just like that, Quinn has to run for the high heels. Rock throw at least zone away, but you just see how impossible it is for Lina to take on this Shadow Fiend.
Yep, and it's just going to get worse and worse, right? You've got 7 seconds left on the BKB. I think they're very happy on Hokori just to expend that one there. Didn't really commit all that much for it, right? Just the Flesh Golem on the Undying, making sure that he didn't die super early on. And now without the BKB, without the Poison Nova, how do you defend this?
Stun on 2, Dream Core as well. BKB from Yawar. You don't defend it. That's the answer, Danhog. You run as far and as fast as you can.
Just see how quickly the buildings melt too. On the Presence Aura affects buildings talent on Lumiere, even picking up the level 18. Just see how quickly they're able to claim that tier 2, and suddenly that last bastion of safety that Yawar was looking to play around suddenly isn't the case anymore. They may be thinking to shove out this bottom lane, but Yawar's going to have to get creative with his farming patterns.
Quinn doesn't have BKB. Mistakes have just been made here. Blink Initiation comes in, Avatos back, and that is your mid laner, ladies and gentlemen. Gone in the blink of the eyes.
Just stone cold faced as well on the player cams coming through. It's like, yep, just a standard day at work for the boys.
I know this feeling of pain. I gotta give Hokori credit though. Like, they are relentless. As soon as these BKBs go on cooldown, they're hunting every time, and it almost feels like it's the bane of Sonic's existence. When they had the BKBs, they at least get out, but afterwards, they risk death every time they try to farm.
Yeah, and that's the thing for Soniqs as well. Like, everything needs to be perfect, essentially, with the initiation, right? You've got to find the right hero, use your spells correctly, have everyone grouped up around the right area so that you are able to get that Blink Dagger in to assist, and you need to have your BKBs available. Whereas it feels like Hokori, there's a few more avenues, right? Because of how elusive their heroes are and how few matters for lockdown that Soniqs have.
It's just tough to see the Sven's impact. I've seen this a few games now where it almost feels too greedy. Well, instead, they'll take the Clockwork. They didn't know exactly where the Sven was, but Clock was kind enough to reveal himself. Stun does connect on the 2. The Rock Throw. Even the hook shot being used. They're going to look for the Pulverize, but the Avalanche is going to interrupt, so Analog will be able to walk it off. MSS is just left looking angry, stampeding through the neighborhood.
Sal's got enough gold to buy up that Wraith Pact, which will provide them with a little bit of that safety coming through. But yeah, it just does still feel like they're taking away more and more of that map control. Could we potentially get some items up here for Soniqs in the next little bit that's going to provide them a little bit of that gap close? The Ogre Seal Totem's really not that bad if you're wanting to give it over to, I would say the Primal Beast would be my prime target to get that one too. Just get in on the front lines, even more tankiness from the extra 10 strength. He does pick that up on MSS.
Usually this is the type of hero that can onslaught in and last 16 seconds and onslaught out if he has to, but I agree, the Seal Club would be just a nice way of him disengaging. I mean, right now he's stuck with a pretty useless specialist array.
I think for Leslau, I mean, he's got the Wraith Pack finished up. I want to see him get into... They're using Quinn as bait right now. Can they look to get that quick pick off if someone does choose to try and commit it onto him? That's what Yua's positioning himself for. They're just going to look to follow him around the map.
Yeah, they have to be careful as well. Look at the sentry layout from Hokori. They see everything.
It's obvious too as well. Like, the top lane's pushing in. Normally you would defend this with how farm-centric Soniqs like to play. They are going to be at least able to deal with this Observer Ward inside the lane. So nice little benefit there, but you just see Hokori. They've waited out the smoke. Maybe they go for one of their own.
Yeah. Hokori don't necessarily know Roche is up just yet, but Soniqs get the info first via the Serpent. Keep on that Plague Ward in the pit.
Yeah, it's a snake. Understandable.
It's filthy serpents, lizards.
Filthy lizard. But yeah,
Don't call my lizard
BKB.
that.
Oh, I will. The BKB is coming through next for Venomancer as well. Again, just about surviving right now, you know. The Hooded Defiance, the Power Treads, the Magic Wand, all these just little things that add up to become just that bit more sustainable. He still does need a little bit of the armor aspect for sure on the Veno, and wouldn't hate seeing him go into maybe a Shiva's after he finishes this one up, but certainly for now, just to make sure that you're not getting full chain stun before being able to get off your ult and your Wraith Pact, BKB is #1 priority.
Maybe a Heaven's Halberd would have been nice in this type of game. It would address the Lumiere threat that nobody else seems to be able to deal with right now.
I just don't think you're going to be able to get close enough to be able to affect that one, right? As long as you can press R and drop your Wraith Pact, I think job well done by Leslau. He's more about setting up before the team fights than having the mid-fight impact outside of that ulti.
That's fair. Good lord.
That rock throw nearly landing onto the puck. That would have been huge, and they've got the Silver Edge as well on Lina, so some intense damage output coming through. What's the vision like? They don't see the puck illusion, and he sees everything.
And they're rotating in right now. Lose your through, force the BKB a little bit early. They're not finished with it just yet. Tiny's going to jump in. Quinn does get the Aegis though. Hookshot on the backside. Fada will keep Lumiere out of the equation. Soniqs will get out scot-free. Even Fada will make it out.
Nicely done. Clean in and out there, being able to claim that Aegis and the Aghanim Shard. Who did they give that one over to? Sven's holding on to it right now just for the additional amount of armor from the Warcry, and I actually really like this. You know, going up against the Shadow Fiends, some of the other aspects that are providing the minus armor in the Weaver, just that passive 7 armor is going to do so much for people like Leslau, for example, that just needs to survive that little bit longer.
Most definitely. And it's nice to find ways to start to bring UI into the equation. They do still get the Aegis over the Lina, but it's just more logical, right? I think at this stage, the amount of extra raw HP and armor is more likely that Lina's going to die before the Sven. If Sven's in, he's committed either way. But she can at least skirt the fights.
And I still feel like you're going to need this MKB on Quinn before you're able to effectively fight into the Shadow Fiends. You're going to have the Aegis to be able to give you the freedom to do so. Just sit back and farm for this next little bit. He's not that far away, about 1.5k. And he'll get his level 20 as well, so the extra Fiery Soul per stack. It's about to be a big damage increase coming through for Soniqs, but they got to try and withstand and not lose too many objectives in the meantime while they're going for this more farm-centric style of play. So I like this sort of play coming through from Quinn, right? Pushing in the top lane, forcing some sort of response out of Hokori. They're going to be able to get a glyph out of it, even if no one TPs back outside of Theolacor.
Yeah, he's prepping for a setup. Maybe they can bring a second hero. Weaver and Shadow Fiend now on the way. The stun's going to be there. Quinn forced to use the BKB. Theolacor tanking a lot here, and now they're a little bit hesitant. Bit off more than they could chew. Unless they can get a follow-up here, but seems difficult to achieve. Leslau in a good position for a Poison Nova. He's forced to fight.
Oh, this is a big win for Soniqs. They just need to get out. Yeah, they don't get anything. They get the tower. They don't lose the tier 2, and they see that the tombstone's dropped. So maybe they just look to back off a little bit. Of course, you've got the Boots of Travel available, but this has given you that bit of extra space to be able to farm up that MKB. Again, level 20, hit now, so extra Fiery Soul, attack speed, movement speed, and just about 500 or so gold away before you pick up that huge item for Quinn in his scaling.
But yeah, it just feels like he's quite a bit ahead still. It'll definitely address the evasion element, but you can see he's bumping his way towards a Hurricane Pike. So suddenly we're going to start to see that mobility. I talked about the idea of a Swift Blink later. Maybe that comes after this pickup.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it really feels like he's trying to play around the outer parts of these team fights right now, right? You're going up against a Lina, which most of the time you don't want to try and outrange, but you've got a Dragon Lance, you're playing around the Enchanted Quiver as well.
Speaking of Lina,
provide that.
She hasn't got BKB for 20.
She's got
ambitious attempt. Yeah, Pulverize is going to come out to feel the call. They can at least expend that Aegis quite quickly if they just get one tap. And there it is, Lumiere. Nice interception by MSS. If they clip her with the Requiem, she's going to be a goner. Invis to try and break away, but no luck there. BKB still on cooldown for 5 seconds.
Oh, so close, and it's the power of a single sentry ward as well. He would have been able to get back to safety under the cover of that Silver Edge, and no buyback for Quinn. He bought the components except for the rest
Oh,
of
God.
them.
Well, luckily for them, they've got a tier 2 mid, so it's not going to translate into 2 lanes.
Well,
at least it shouldn't.
Tier 4s, maybe? They might start to hit up onto it. You never know. This is presence affects buildings.
It's TI. It feels dangerous. They'll just go all the way top. Okay, yeah, I thought that was maybe the other option. Some teams get hesitant to go through the base like this, but you can see the air of confidence around Hokori.
Yeah, they're feeling themselves. They're going to pop that glyph again, but it's not really going to provide any backdoor protection because the creeps on the bottom side are still in the base.
Yeah, and Analog is on the right side here. He was fishing for a straggler.
Oh,
Stun's going to count 2 though. Undying gone. Hookshot going to be intercepted. Not able to get it. Vitally able to use the time lapse to get away. Leslau will throw out the Poison Nova, but Lumiere just middle fingers and says, why do I even care?
He does, and he's still got the Satanic available. Might need it. Might even just use the Requiem to create that extra couple of seconds of space to create, to claim the tower.
Stun return. Tight, but they'll get him out.
Quinn's committing here.
Squeaky bum time. Lumiere trying to dodge. Rock throw will connect onto him, but they can't find the follow-up. Vada whiffed on that hook shot, so they haven't got any way of connecting.
Lose 2 racks off of a single death onto the Lina. This is the power of the Shadow Fiend. Just being able to convert so heavily off of a single mistake coming through. So Quinn is going to be smarting as a result of that. Still only about 140 gold away from being able to pick up that MKB.
Quick Quinn, they just spotted him. They have a deep ward in the base. They rotated intentionally here. Lumiere's going to move in. They'll find the right clicks. Quinn, he's gone. He's just gone. And I don't think no buyback still. That could easily be game.
They're going to try and shove out this this mid lane as quickly as possible, but Gardic's not going to let it happen. Put his body on the line. Make sure that he's in position to be able to prevent this movement coming through. And I mean, Leslau, he's going to need to set up the biggest army of Plague Wars you've ever seen to try and keep them away from this base. They've still got a Tiny, of course, roaming around the area with the Blink Dagger available. So if they could find this pick off onto Leslau, there really isn't anything stopping them from just invading into the base after taking the tier 2.
And that ward bot is the MVP. That's what gave them the info so early. It gave them the prep time to set up the TP on an outpost. And now they're setting them up to look for a win here. Dreamcore comes in, they'll look for the snap, they'll drag him back into a prime Poison Nova location, but 1 is on cooldown and 2, he's stunned and dead. That's going to be mega creeps, and with 20 seconds left until Lina is up, I get this feeling that Aori maybe don't want to leave.
Oh no, definitely not. I mean, you might need to expend the buyback here on the Venomancer. He's waited until the Poison Nova is available, but even now with the spend, with the Lina, they pop the Aeon Disc. That's a nice little win if they're able to get in onto Analog, but Lumiere just doesn't care.
Untying's gone, but Yawar just used the BKB and the God Strength, and he can't go anywhere near Lumiere. They're in trouble. Fada with a buyback. That's a free tap to death. They just can't stand against it. She's gone. They're gone. Hokori strike fast to close out this second game. What started off even will end in great despair for Soniqs. 1 game on the board for the SA team.
Man, that win probability just fell off a cliff coming through there for Soniqs. Just death after death after death, unfortunately, for Quinn and the Soniqs. But, man, it just goes to show what a big portion of that damage output was coming out through him. If they're able to find him, if they're able to get that gap closed, even with the Aghanim Shard and the Aegis, he's still going to go down. He's still not having that same defensive capabilities. He is that glass cannon that we were talking about.